All right, everybody, I've got bedhead and bag eyes. It's early in the morning, and I just woke up and I'm finishing my coffee, finished watching the season finale of Star Wars The Acolyte. The people out there who said they wanted a lightsaber fight, that was a lightsaber fight. Like, they did a good job. Like, I can actually sit here and say, as much as I've appreciated some of the things they've done in this show, other things not so much. But overall, I've had a good time watching this. This lightsaber scene was worthy of them making the claims that they were going to have some of the better lightsaber fights in the series. This was definitely up there. This lightsaber sequence that was good. Uh, Everything ahead is spoiler territory. I haven't spoiled anything by saying that because it's got a lightsaber fight in it because it's Jedi. Um, but everything from here forward is going to be spoiler territory. So you've had your warning. If you haven't watched the episode yet, hit the pause button, go away, watch it. I'm going to take one final sip to give you guys a second to do so. All right, time to roll. So, lots of revelations in this, not the least of which is a figure that we all know from the greater Star Wars canon. Oh, man. I don't know where. I mean, season two could be so good. Like, the way they set things up here. So obviously the girls are split up. May is with Sol on his ship as a prisoner, and Osha is with um, Kamir and on the planet. And essentially, let's cover Osha first. She has the sense deprivation helmet on, and as she goes into this thing, she starts to feel this overwhelming power and anger and everything else, and she starts to be able to reach out beyond the helmet. And Kamir's eyes go black as she enters his mind and begins to take over, just like her mother had done with Jedi. And he fights it, manages to pull her helmet off, but he's kind of scared with like who she is. And um, she's basically had a vision of where May is with a lightsaber in her hand, and Soul, and dead, or just a future that could be. And Kamir's like, well, I gotta go. She's really gonna do it. Like, I need to go, find my apprentice, even though previously he'd given up on her to train Osha. And Osha's like, well, I know where she is, and you don't. And he's like, so they strike a bargain and get off. But during this whole time, like they're out on the you know planet out there, and he's trying to convince her to become his student this whole time. He keeps trying to convince Osha, and she's like, just I'm not gonna be your student ever. And there's this moment when they're looking out and everything's going on, and then we get a pan to a shadowy figure in the background who's it can be none other than Darth Plagueis. It's got to be Darth Plagueis. It's mm, tasty. I mean, this is the guy, and it makes sense because the story of Osha and May together, the fact that they were created from the Force. So their mother was powerful enough to give life to something from the Force. And then we have Darth Plagueis the Wise, who apparently, as Darth Sidious told it, had learned how to cheat death, had how to conquer death. So that makes sense for this to be that character. And they're going to go down the path of how he learned that knowledge. It's just so insidious. I freaking love it. And it ties into the Skywalker saga, which I didn't actually anticipate this doing. It's High Republic and it's cool and everything, but I do love how they've given us a little tie back into the overarching canon. Really cool stuff. Meanwhile, we've got May and prisoner on Soul's ship. She breaks free. She gets out in this escape ship. There's a space chase sequence through this like really cool. It's not an asteroid belt, but like ice crystal belt around a planet. And at the end of it, the tracker droid, or not tracker droid, the tracker guy, Breck, I forget his name, the little tracker guy, the little furry guy who can't speak and just talks and like barks and stuff, who tracks everything because of the smell. He's on Soul's ship, and right as Soul is like chasing May through this field and about to like shoot her ship down, he pulls the plug on the energy, and the ship goes spiraling through and knocks May off course, and she crash lands into Brennig, I believe, is the name of the planet. Um, and Soul finishes up and gets the ship down and lands and flips the transponder on his ship and goes after her. So at this point, every you know, May and Osha are both converging on this planet. Kamir is coming with Osha, May and Soul are there. In the midst of all of this, we have the Jedi Order and the fact that the Senate has called, or one particular senator has called for a review of the Jedi, believing them to be far too uh, powerful and insular, and they need to be, who's going to stop one of you if you go rogue? Like, who polices the policed? Who polices the policeman, essentially? Who watches the watchers? So he's wanting to call for Senate review, and she's all like having none of it. And she's like, I don't know what you've heard. It's all fake, blah, 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 blah. But then behind the scenes, she gets together a group of like 20 Jedi to go find the transponder because she realizes that this is messed up because there's this whole thing of we have a bunch of Jedi dead, a Jedi Master out there chasing something, or going crazy. We gotta fix this internally before it ruins the reputation of the Jedi Order. And oh my God, does that play into her fall, her pride? She is not a good Jedi, everybody. She is not a good Jedi. She thinks she's doing things for the right reasons, but she is bending rules and breaking rules and doing things out of fear. Anyway, so everybody's going to the planet, right? This was an amazing culmination episode. Like I got to give him credit. There were a lot of things that were, kind of about the Acolyte. I still enjoyed it all the way through. I don't have the nitpicks that a lot of the haters do. I just think that it had, short run times and, the pacing could have been better. We could have gotten longer episodes, more storyline. There's definitely critiques that I have of the show, but overall, I have had fun. But this episode, so watching Soul, especially him as an actor, I gotta give him credit because as he's trying to find May in the ruins of the monastery, right? He is so tortured. Like it is his dark side cave, man. Like he is in here being confronted by the past and all the things that have tortured him for the past 16 years. And even though he is a good man, he made a horrible mistake and it has haunted him for his whole life. And he's confronting all of it here. And in the midst of him trying to find May, Kamir shows up. It's like, thank you for leading me to this place. And that's when we get this. And it's one of the coolest lightsaber sequences, honestly, I've seen out of the series that have come from Disney Plus. The Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber scene was really, really good. This is really, really good. The fight between these two and the discussions that are had in the middle of this, like they're in the middle of the fight, here come the Jedi ship, and Soul's like, now you're gonna pay for what you did, and Kamir's like, they're not here for me. And it was like, oh shit, man, like he's like they're not here for him. They're here for Soul. Um and they gotta protect the sanctity of the Jedi Order, the reputation. Gotta keep that power, for as long as possible. Um, and then the whole sequence of Soul's like, I'm gonna destroy you, and he's like, not if she stops you, and you're like, oh snap. So they have a really cool duel. And in the midst of all of this, the sisters meet in the bedroom and they have a reconciliation, right? Um, and then they go out, and this is when you get this sequence where it's in the middle or towards the end of the lightsaber fight, and May comes out, confronts, this is after basically Soul has kicked Kamir's ass and destroyed his lightsaber and everything else. And he's here and he's, got his lightsaber in his throat. And then here comes May, stopping the fight and getting his lightsaber away from him and confronting Soul. And he admits to her that yes, tortured, horribly dramatic scene. It was not horribly, but epically dramatic scene. Um, and he admits that yes, I killed your mother. Like he explains everything. He's like, your mother created life. You are two pieces of the same person that was split into two somehow by your mother. That amount of power. Do you not understand what that means? Like that's what I was here to investigate, and I could never prove it without both of you together. And he gives her this whole speech, which he truly believes, and he's not, again, it was a horrible mistake that was made all those years ago. But he was here for the right reasons to discover what is this virgins? How did your mother do what she did? Like we need to understand this. This is something to be celebrated. She created life. Like that is epic. And then admits that in the chaos he killed her and it was a complete tragic accident. But he admits this to May. And Osha hears. And then Osha snaps, falls to the dark side, and force chokes Soul to death, completing Khmer's original mandate for May, which is kill a Jedi without a weapon. I mean, a lot of us suspected that May would fall to the dark side, or Osha would fall to the dark side. So this part was not, unanticipated. Like definitely, kind of had thought about this. But the force choke, I hadn't even considered that. That was amazing. That was totally amazing. And so here we have Khmer accepting Osha as his new apprentice. As she's sitting there, holding the lightsaber, she goes to confront him, and then in her rage, she turned the kyber crystal red, so that's the fall to the dark side. And yeah, crazy. So Soul's dead. The sisters are here. Here come the Jedi. Um, they run, and the girls run to the tree where they always, yeah, that yellow tree in the middle of the forest. And Khmer tracks them down, and the twins have a moment where they're discussing what to do and the fact that they've forgiven each other and they're finally together again. And there was a part of me that was like, are they going to put the two back together again? And she's going to be one whole person? But then Khmer shows up and he's like, you know, if I could find you, they're going to find you, and the girls have to make a choice, and the choice is um, Osha chooses what she always wanted, which was to be free and to go train and to do something of her own free will, which is to follow Khmer. And May is like, please do it. I ruined that chance for you all those years ago. It's time for you to live the life that you always wanted to live, and now it's time for me to pay for my sins. And Khmer says, I think I can probably wipe your mind. And he does. And so May loses all recollection of her sister. You've got Darth Plagueis in the background, watching all of this. And so the question is, does he know that Darth Plagueis is watching? Is Darth Plagueis his master at this point? Or is Darth Plagueis just in the background, like, following the threads? Like, we don't know how that all plays into it yet, or the history with Palpatine slash Sidious later on. Like, because he is Darth Plagueis' student. So I have questions like, is this guy Darth Plagueis' student for now, and then Sidious is going to come along later and replace him? Or is Plagueis just in the background, hiding, following this thread to immortality? I don't know. It opens all sorts of questions up. But then we get in the middle of like all of this when the Jedi show up, like when she shows up and sets foot on the planet for the first time, she does a sense thing, and it's when Khmer has his helmet off, and she goes, "Pff," and she goes, oh, "You? How is it possible?" So we suddenly realize that she has ties back to Khmer. Is this the previous Jedi Master that almost killed him and expelled him from the, like, we don't know that backstory yet completely, but she's definitely been hiding that all these years. And so now she's got double motives, right? And so she goes down to the planet, she finds Soul's body, she senses him even with the helmet, and ultimately, they do their thing, search around, they find May with her memory wiped, and they take her away. And now we're back in the Jedi Order, and all sorts of nasty, nasty things are happening. So there's the Senate hearing, and she lies to the whole Senate hearing about Soul. And it even shows her while she's like taking care of Soul's body and burning him in a pyre out in the lake. And she's like, I'm so sorry, you know, giving her respects to him, but then throws him under the bus in front of the Senate hearing and says, "Oh, these were the actions of one rogue Jedi, and he went out there and was twisted by the dark side and killed all his fellow Jedi and everything else, all because she needs the Jedi's reputation has to be completely stellar." And of course, it still is prompting a this review, but she is doing everything she can to you know keep the Jedi Order from ever having a visible mistake or to mar their reputation, and throws Soul under the bus and lies about everything. It's just she is hiding her mistake as well about her past apprentice or whatever, or whoever he is to her, whoever Kamir is to her. And then there's this whole thing with her at the end manipulating this poor girl, May, who has no memories of anything past 8 years old, and telling him, "I'm going to need your help to track this dangerous individual," and then the final note is her saying, "I have something to tell you, Master," and then we get a headshot of Yoda. So we don't know if she's about to confess everything to Yoda or if she's going to go add lies upon lies. We don't know yet. So a lot of questions at the end of uh, this season finale. And I gotta say, as far as finales go, this is probably the only episode of the series of the season so far that I would give like a perfect score to. Like I have no complaints about this episode. I got all the reveals I wanted. I got amazing lightsaber sequences. There was that really cool ship chase sequence through the ice field. Just overall, I had a really good time with this episode. So peak Star Wars for me. Very happy they ended it on this note. It leaves plenty of loose ends that we could begin to pull at in a season two if it goes that route, which it probably will, given the fact that it was their highest, I think their highest viewed or highest rate. It was the highest viewed, the most viewed series after Obi-Wan. Um, Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts, comments. Drop them down below. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. And stick around because we'll be doing post-Acolyte content as well as reviewing upcoming Star Wars projects and all the other things I review here on the channel. So stick around. Daily streams here and on Twitch. Don't forget the Patreon, the Discord, and all the socials. And we'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you, everybody.